Hi soulmates, welcome to another beautiful tutorial from us. So in this video, we're going to be drafting or we're going to be sewing the bubu gown you saw on the thumbnail, right? So for us to do this, I folded my fabric into two, then I folded into two again. This part is open, so you just fold it into two and into two again. This part is closed, which is where we're going to be cutting our neckline. This one will be the side for the sleeve. Okay, so we're doing a cut together boo with long sleeve, and that is why I folded the whole of this. This is 3 yards of fabric folded into four. Okay, so for the neckline, I'm going to be starting from the top since I'm going to also cut away the whole of this part. For the front, I'm going to mark 3 inches. After this 3 inches, I'm also going to slit it down by 4 inches so that it can actually pass through the head. So I'll mark 3 inches here. Coming to this part also, I'm going to mark 3 inches. That is 3 by 3. The slitting will make it easier for the head to pass by. So I will use my curve ruler to connect the neckline together. 3 by 3 inches. So once that is marked, I'm going to get my shoulder line. I'm doing this in a way that it will be very easy for us to understand. The shoulder line here is 8 inches, but I'm not going to cut on the shoulder line. Or from this shoulder line now, I'm going to take the length of the sleeve. Of course, I'll be using the whole of this. This is 18.5, including seam allowance. We are going to be attaching a band on the sleeve, and the sleeve is also going to be gathered. Okay, so from this part, the end of this, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches. This is to slant the shoulder line. So I'm going to place it down to my neck point and slant it this way using my ruler. I hope the marking is clear. Okay, so I'm going to cut this away. Now the next thing we're going to do is to take, we're using the length, the whole of this length as the length of the gown. We're going to get some measurements. Now the bust length is not necessary here because it will not be considered. We are going to get the hip line. The hip line is 27 inches. And we are going to get the knee line, which is 40 inches. Okay, now the remaining part is the length of the gown. So we have the hip and the knee. Now what we're going to do on the hip line is to divide the hip into 4. We're using the hip of 42 divided by 4, and that will give us 10.5. We're going to be adding 2 inches to make it free, and that will be 12.5, and then we had 1 inch to for seam allowance, and that will be 13.5. But if you think this is small for you, you can still add to it. All right, but then we're still going to add to this measurement when we are covered. Okay, now at the hip line, also the knee line, also we are going to measure the same thing, which is 13.5, right? Yeah, 13.5. So I'm going to mark. Now I'll connect this line straight to the end of the fabric. So I'm going to connect it to the end of the fabric this way. I have to shift it up so that we can see it properly. Now, like I said, the hip line is not going to actually remain the hip circumference. By the time we connect our curve, it's going to be bigger than what we marked. Okay, so here we have the knee line. Now the next thing we're going to do is to get the circumference of the sleeve. Remember I said the sleeve is going to be gathered. So from the sleeve drop down, from the sleeve shoulder drop down, we're going to take the circumference of the sleeve, which is eventually going to be gathered, and I'm going to be using 19 inches. Okay, I'm going to be using 19 inches. I'll come in by 1 inch for the folding or seam allowance. we said we're going to be adding a band at 3 inches band or 2 inches band at the wrist part. So this measurement here is going to allow us to fold or sew it to the band. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to connect this towards the knee line. So our hip measurement is also going to be affected because it's going to be bigger than what it is. So from this sleeve now, we are connecting 1 inch below the hip line. Okay, so we're going to be connecting this way. Then here we'll move it in. You can see the way after this 1 inch, I'm going to make a slight curve, not a sharp curve, a slight curve, and we blend it into this below the knee line. So coming over to this part, our back neck is going to be 1.5 inches. You can also do 1 inch, or let's do 1.5 inches. So I will cut the back neckline first so that when I open it up, I will cut the front. If you cut the front, it's going to affect the back. Okay, so I will get my scissors now and we do the cutting. This is cutting the back neckline and cutting the shoulder slant. Okay, so I'll go over. Remember, our sleeve opening started from the shoulder drop down and we marked 19 inches, including the same allowance. So I'm going to begin to cut from the lower part. Let me shift this up. Okay, now this gown is not going to have any opening. It's going to be closed below. The reason this part is need to be wide enough for you to walk without having difficulty. So we're going to slit this part open. So this is what we have. Now I'm going to remove one part. I'll remove the one inside so I can cut this neckline for the front. Now I've shifted the one inside. I'm now going to cut the neckline for the front. Then I'm going to make a slit of 4 inches from there. Okay, so I'm going to cut a facing for this part. This gown is going to have what is it called again? A strap at the neckline. So the facing is just going to cover this part and a little of this part so that the rope we're attaching to the neckline will finish the remaining parts. Go ahead now and cut the facing. So here I've cut the facing and attached to the front part. You can see, like I said, I finished only the slits and 1 inch of the neckline for the front. And of course the facing I said is not going to get into the shoulder, so I'm going to use an stay to finish it up, fold it and use stay to gum it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to attach the back shoulder line. we put it shoulder to shoulder like so, and use 1/2 inch to join it together down to the point where it stops, and that is where the opening of the sleeve is going to start. So we're going to skip the opening of the sleeve and continue the joining of the other bodies down to the end of the gown. So I'm going to do this on the both sides of the gown, join them together before we proceed to doing other things that we're supposed to do. Okay, remember that the sleeve is going to be open because we're going to gather it after joining from shoulder to the other part. So here I finished joining the gown, the two sides. Now the only thing remaining is the neckline and the band that we're going to be attaching to the sleeve. Okay, and of course I've not gathered the sleeve anyway. So this is the band that we're going to be attaching to the sleeve. This is about 2 inches. Okay, we're only going to be folding it together like so, like this, and then join it to the sleeve. I was still going to show us when I'm joining it. For the neckline, I'll measure the neckline width. I have a long strap here which is going to be folded into two. So I'm going to measure the roundness of the neckline where I'm going to fix this strap, right? Once I measure it, I will keep that part open on the strap and then sew the other part. And at the end of this strap, I'm going to cut like a V shape just to give it a nice finishing, and of course notch the midpoint so that I'll use it to measure exactly where I'm going to be fixing it into the neckline. I hope this is making sense. Okay, if you've watched this video to this end, all you could do now is just to go and subscribe and then come back and finish it. So like I said, this part of the strap, the end of it, we're going to slant it this way. Okay, we're going to slant it this way to give it a nice finishing, and then also going to do the other part the same thing, give it a nice finishing. All right, like I said, if you've watched to this end of the video, you know what to do. Please go ahead and do it. So this gown is very easy and simple to make. At the same time, it's giving a rich auntie vibe. So if you want to look like this, or your client wants to look like this is the right video for you to watch and get the best of it. So now I'm going over to do some of the things that I have said. Now this is one part of the sleeve band. You can see the way I folded it, right? And using our actual measurements, I'm using 10 inches because of who is going to wear it. As for me, it wouldn't have been up to 10 inches. So I've gathered the sleeve to also 10 inches, and then I'm going to fix it this way. Put it and then turn it from the inside so that it will be easier for me to sew it around the armhole, the sleeve opening that I've gathered. So I will use pin to hold it first, and then we'll continue from the other part, take it to the sewing machine and join it. I've already joined one part. I said let me come and show us how I did it. So this is the strap. I've ironed it, right? So I'm going to start fixing it from the midpoint of the back. I'll use my pin to hold it from the midpoint. I've closed the other part, remaining the part where I'm going to be fixing to the neckline. So once I fix one part, the strap is opened, I will use this to turn and finish it up. You can see the way I'm folding it so that the rough edges will not be seen. I'll just fold it over and top stitch on it. And so basically that is what we're going to be doing in this, and everything is done. So I want to specially thank you for watching this video to this end. If you've not subscribed, please do so. we're going to be seeing in another video that is coming up as soon as possible after posting this. I hope you come back for more interesting videos, and I'll be glad you did. Thank you so much. Bye for watching. Mwah.